Hello everyone. So we'll continue with, we had done the introduction of centrifugal pump in the last class, and I had just introduced you to you all the velocity triangle. So today we'll be calculating the work done per second on on your pump. Okay. Now here again it's a velocity triangle. The flow. This is my backward curve radial vane. The flow is radial. Okay, so because the flow is radial, the alpha angle is 90 degree, and this is the absolute velocity, relative velocity, and the tangential velocity of your impeller. And here you can see the direction of absolute velocity and relative velocity are different because of your u2 value. So this is my velocity triangle for your centrifugal pump. And here U1 and U2 are different. Your U1 is given by P D1 N by 60, where diameter D1 is a diameter at inlet of your impeller, and D2 is at the outlet of impeller. So this is the actually typical diagram. Okay, so this is your R1 at inlet, this is your R2 at your outlet value. Okay, so the simplified diagram I've drawn in the beginning. This is the actual diagram of your radially curved vane. Now, so whenever I draw the velocity triangle, it is important to name all your velocities. And since I'm using, it's a radially curved vane, I'm going to calculate the torque by, I'm going to calculate the work done by using your torque. Okay, so because I'm using the torque, I'm introducing this term omega. Your omega is the angular velocity. And these are all the terms in your velocity triangle itself, V1, U1. And U1, since angular velocity is given, I can write it as omega R1, where R1, as I shown you in the figure, R1 is a radius from the center of the impeller to your inlet. And VR1, here alpha angle is 90 degree and your theta angle. Same here at velocity triangle at outlet also. You have the new terms are R2, rest all are the same as in your normal velocity triangle. VW2, velocity of whirl at outlet, velocity of flow at outlet, etc. Now, before I do the work done calculation, work done per second calculation, I thought I'll just introduce to the term torque. Now, torque is used whenever there is a twisting action, whenever I'm trying to twist or rotate. Only then your term torque comes into picture. In simple terms, your torque is moment of a force and it is given by force into perpendicular distance. Okay. Now here, torque is defined as rate of change of moment of momentum. So please don't get confused. Remember that the simplest definition of torque is force into distance. If you remember your beginning of module 4, when we started with curved vane, we had introduced a term, we had introduced a equation called as impulse momentum equation. So there we have told force is a rate of change of momentum. So here, instead of that force, I am introducing the word rate of change of momentum. And moment, how it is coming? I said torque is moment of a force. Moment of a force is nothing but force into its perpendicular distance. So that's why if you collaborate everything, force is rate of change of momentum. Into D, it becomes your momentum. So rate of change of momentum. That is your torque. Now, coming to the first word, momentum, your momentum is basically your mass into velocity. Now here, whenever we calculate, we don't calculate the mass. We write mass as density into volume, into velocity. Now, moment of momentum is, I am multiplying into its perpendicular distance. In this case, it is my R value, radius. So I'll be getting rho volume velocity into V. This is in general terms, okay? And I'm telling this term because in my work done calculation, I'll be directly substituting this value. So I'm just showing you how it is coming into picture. So momentum is mass into velocity. That is rho volume into V. Moment of momentum is rho volume into V into your R, gives you moment, perpendicular distance. Now rate of momentum is, I am dividing this term by T. So when I divide this term by T, your volume by time is nothing but your discharge. So I'm getting rho Q V into R. Remember, this part is not required for your derivation. You can directly write just to understand the concept of how are we defining torque. Remember, torque concept will come into picture whenever I'm using a radially curved vane. Okay. Now coming to the work done calculation. So I'm defining let Q be the discharge. And in case of a centrifugal pump, it is given by pi D1 B1 VF1 is equal to pi D2 B2 VF2. Your D1 is the diameter of impeller at inlet. D2 is at outlet. B1 and B2 are the width at inlet and outlet. And VF1 and VF2 are the velocity of flow at inlet and outlet. And now here torque. Torque I defined it as rate of change of momentum. Now I'll be calculating at inlet. Okay, so your rate of change of momentum at inlet is, so the same terms, rho Q V into R. So here the V is the velocity of whirl. Your whirl causes the twisting action. So I'm using only velocity of whirl, VW1 into R1. Now if you saw the velocity triangle, your VW1 was 0. So this entire term becomes 0. Okay, and why it is 0? Because it is flowing radially towards your vane. Now momentum at outlet is rho Q VW2 R2. So my torque will be its change. So 1 is 0. So I'll have rho Q VW2 R2. Now to calculate work done per second, I have to multiply torque into omega. Your omega is your angular velocity. Okay, so when I multiply it with omega, rho Q VW2 R2 into omega, I can club this term omega R2 and write it as U2. Your U2 is your tangential velocity of impeller at outlet. And as usual, I'll be calculating the work done per second per unit weight per second. So rho Q VW2 U2 divided by rho QG. Okay, so I'll be getting the work done per second per unit weight per second as V W2 U2 divided by G. So this is my work done calculation. So the actual calculation is very simple, but there's a little more intensity to understanding the concept of your torque. Okay, we have done this in your radially curved vane in module 4 also. And here in the previous class, I mentioned about manometric head. Okay, and I had mentioned manometric head is your head impart. The first definition was manometric head is head imparted by the impeller to the water minus the losses. Now, how and I had written it as head imparted is VW2 U2 by G. So here, so I'll just tell you how it is coming. So your work done per second, we got it as rho Q VW2 U2. Now that, so when I have to calculate the power in kilowatt, what do I do? Rho Q VW2 U2 divided by 1000. I'm retaining this power in watt itself. So I'll have rho Q VW2 U2. This is the power due to water. For water power, the standard formula is rho GQH. Whenever I have water power, whenever I'm calculating water power, this is my standard formula. So I'm equating these both. So equating 1 and 2, the water power we calculated from your work done, and the conventional water power, I'll be getting H value as V W2 U2 by G. And this head is a head imparted by impeller to water. Okay, now I thought I'll explain with the diagram. Now here, remember, your pump is converting your mechanical power into your hydraulic power. Now mechanical power is nothing but your shaft power. So when I'm calculating, here also I'm calculating 3 efficiencies. So remember that water power, once it comes out of the impeller, it is water power. And at the outlet also it is water power. So the difference of your power depends on the value of your H. Your rho GQ is a constant. Depending on the H value, I say where the water power is calculated. You'll understand when I'm calculating the efficiency. So as of now, remember your H is a head imparted to by impeller to water. So this, as I switch on the motor, the shaft rotates, and because of the shaft rotation, your impellers are rotating, and because the impellers are moving, the water is being flowing through your turbine. So the head imparted by impeller is basically your impeller. At the impeller, what is the power? Water power. Now coming to efficiencies of centrifugal pump, there are three efficiencies. Your first is your manometric efficiency, mechanical efficiency, and overall efficiency. Now manometric efficiency is defined in terms of power, in terms of head. So first I'll deal in terms of power. So here your manometric efficiency, the input is the power imparted by impeller to water, and the output is power given to water at outlet of pump. Both are water power, but this water power is at the impeller, whereas this water power is at the outlet. Okay, so if I see the diagram, if you have the yeah, so this is a diagram. So the water power at inlet, sorry, is input is water power here, and the output for manometric efficiency is a water power at the outlet. So the value of H changes in both the cases. So your manometric efficiency, so power imparted by Vampala. So here power imparted, we know it is rho Qg into H. We have calculated as V W2 U2 by G. I'm dividing it by 1000 to get in kilowatt. Now what are given to power at outlet? That I am having rho Qg into manometric head divided by 1000. So the value here it is H. H I'm writing it as VW2 U2 by G, and here it is your manometric head. Both are water power, but the position of the power is different. One is inside the impeller and the other is at the outlet. Now, if I simplify it, I'll be getting manometric efficiency as GHM by VW2U2. Now, in terms of head, again, head imparted by impeller to turbine. The output is manometric head. So manometric head I'm substituting as it is. Head imparted I'm writing in terms of velocity of whirl and your tangential velocity by G. So I get the same expression. So this is my manometric efficiency. It is comparing both my water power. The position of your water power is different. One is at the impeller, the other is at the outlet. Next is your mechanical efficiency. So whenever mechanical efficiency comes into picture, there is shaft power. Okay, now here mechanical efficiency, the input you're giving in your pump is your shaft power and the output is your hydraulic power, and here mechanical efficiency is a part of overall efficiency. So here the just previous power is power imparted by impeller to water. Okay, the power imparted by impeller to water. So that is nothing but again rho Qg by 1000 into H value, which is substituted as VW2U2 by G. I'm writing this separately to avoid confusion. Okay, so this is actually your H. So rho Qg into H is my formula, divided by 1000 I'll be getting in kilowatt, and so a shaft power in kilowatt. So if I simplify this, I'll be getting rho Q VW2U2 divided by 1000 into shaft power. Now the overall efficiency again, input power by output power. Your input is your shaft power and the output is the power given to water at outlet. Okay, so at outlet rho Qg, again water power, but my H value is manometric head divided by 1000 divided by shaft power. So I'll be having, if I'm writing it again, your overall efficiency is power given to water at outlet divided by shaft power. Like in turbine, I can divide this into two. I'm introducing the power imparted by impeller to water in the numerator and your denominator. Numerator and denominator. So this power is, sorry, this term is nothing but your manometric efficiency and this is nothing but your mechanical efficiency. So your overall efficiency is a product of manometric efficiency into your mechanical efficiency. So this is about the discussion about efficiency. Remember, your pump is a reverse of your turbine. Entire this is reverse. Now the next thing what I'm going to do is the minimum static speed of pump. Your pump, remember when I switch on the motor, electricity getting converted to mechanical and your impeller starts rotating. Now there is a minimum speed in which it has to rotate so that the water is lifted up. Otherwise it is just rotating. Okay, so I'm just calculating the minimum speed which is required for a given head. Okay, what is the minimum speed required so that the pump is actually lifting up water from ground to your to a level above. And here again, I want to introduce the word priming. I think most of you would be knowing your priming is the introduction of water to your pump. Now, if I introduce water to the pump, what happens when my pump starts rotating, when the impeller starts rotating, if it is not filled with water, it will try to rotate air. And as it is rotating air, the water below does not get lifted up. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm covering the pump with water so that when I switch on the motor, when my impeller is starting, I am rotating water itself, and it's an easy way to pump up your water. Now here, your centrifugal pump is an example of a forced vortex. Forced vortex I will be doing in detail in the class, in the Google Meet class, is an example of forced vortex. And here the head due to pressure rise in the impeller is given by U2 square by 2G minus U1 square by 2G. Okay. So this is the head due to pressure rise in the impeller, and this is the case of your centrifugal pump, and a centrifugal pump is an example of forced vortex. So here, what is the condition? Your U2 square by 2G minus U1 square by 2G should be greater than your manometric head, greater than or equal to your manometric head. Okay, so U2 and U1 we already know. Now the flow will happen only when the head due to pressure rise in impeller is greater than equal to your HM value. So for the minimum speed to occur, your U2 square by 2G minus U1 square by 2G should be equal to your manometric head. So this is my formula. Okay, so in this formula, what I'm doing, there is no term of n. Minimum speed, I want to calculate my n value. So here, U2 and U1, I'm writing in terms of pi d2n by 60, that is U2. U1 as pi d1n by 60. And your HM also, I'm making use of your manometric efficiency. And from manometric efficiency, I'm writing HM in terms of your manometric efficiency. So I'll be getting manometric head is equal to manometric efficiency VW2 U2 divided by G. Now here again U2 we are taking this pi d2n by 60. So I'll be substituting all these three 1, 2, 3 in this formula and trying to simplify it. So I've substituted all this in this formula, and you can see I can take things common here. Okay, I can take pi square, n square, 60 square and 2G common. So it'll be remaining will be D2 square minus D1 square here again. Now here I can cancel terms also, pi n G by 60 on both sides. So I'll be getting the simplified version, pi n by 2 into 60, D2 square minus D1 square is equal to manometric efficiency VW2 D2. So since I want a value of n, so I'll be getting this. So this should be the minimum speed required to run a turbine so that your water is getting lifted up. So that is for today. Thank you all for listening.